Hello everyone and welcome to another video about symbols and divine weapons. Here we go again about the setup that preferably be used if you're solo against certain circumstances. We will split this in two halves. We go for DPS here, since tanking when you're solo is pointless. Basically really pointless. There are situations where for a challenge or something you maybe need a tankier setup, but it isn't a regular, so we don't over this here. We'll just go for a maximum DPS setup. We will start for a relatively normal setup. We will start with the Emblems of Destruction, since they allow you for the extra damage oomph when you're collecting them. The next thing is Emergency Maneuver Dodge. It allows you to get out of dangerous situations. The next thing will be Protective Shell. I will use this over anything else, since in the normal runs you rarely get to run into anything that really kills you straight out. So you are better off getting less damage for a few seconds of the fight, instead of taking no damage for one time and then you are dead. So the next thing is the Haunted Technique, since most classes will have the enhanced powers. There are some classes that don't need it, like the Knight, for example, doesn't have a certain extra. The Paladin doesn't have a special extra effect. The Kinetic doesn't have an extra effect. The Witch doesn't have an extra effect. The Monk doesn't have an extra effect. But that's basically it. The other classes all have an effect that can be amplified with the Haunted Technique. If you are not fond of the Haunted Technique for whatever reason, or play one of those classes, I would probably go with the Pain Shock, or just stay on Haunted Technique to not get more stuff on your E when you don't want to paddle around. The next stuff for me obviously is the support mode, since your character with its skills will deal way more damage than any companion attack could do, so I prefer to buff myself up. If you are persistent on not using the support mode, I would go for either the random attack or for the Berserker mode. Berserker mode only if you don't care what your companion is attacking. The next thing here I would say is for me is my Crushing Aura, because I rather take a random chance to proc it instead of either do it just once in a fight, or I do it when I get damaged or CC'd or over a long course of fight, since the normal fights don't last long. If you are certain that your fights never will take longer than 30 seconds, you can just take sudden death to proc it instantly at the start of the fight. The next thing here is that I would go for the collapse, since I'm using it currently now on my Groove Worker, and Groove Worker already has plenty of AoE abilities, but not so much on single target phase, so I use it here. I could also go for the Chain of Distraction if I would go for more AoE style. If you're playing a class that already is strong on a single target matter, like let's say the Necro and the Revenant, the Berserker, or the Archer, then you could go for Chain of Distraction to give yourself a lead in the fight against many enemies. Also can depend on what you are facing. If you are facing an enemy crowd, it's better to be on Chain of Distraction, and if you are facing Collapse, if you're facing one target, I would take Collapse. But basically that's the setup I would run for the most stuff, and changing out stuff only if I need to. As divine abilities, I will use divine symbols. I will use healing, the willpower and the transcendence. Transcendence just in case that I'm messing up with one class and need to switch over to adapt to a situation. As a divine weapon, for starters, you will probably only have the 4 or have one from an event. The good ones for fighting a single target are the Improved Nerian's Hammer, or simply the Nerian's Hammer, the Akanita's Vipers, and the Cyrus Blades. Those 3 are really good against a single target. Should you face many enemies, you can either go for the largest sword or still the Improved Nerian's Hammer. The Improved Largest Sword could come in handy, especially if you are a melee class, since it will deal melee damage and for that be more useful to you. So if you are a ranged class, you should probably pick the Nerian's Hammer, and if you're a melee class, you can really pick between the Improved Largest Sword or the Nerian's Hammer. When it comes down to the other weapons like the Akanita Vipers, they are good against one enemy, since they deal poison damage when you put them on, and can summon a Viper that fights for you for a certain amount of time, depending on the stacks that you exploded, and will come in handy for dealing damage against one target. The Cyrus Blades been from a recent event. They allow you to just activate them and they fly instantly towards your enemies and target the enemies with the least amount of health among them that you are facing. The damage is certainly high when you're going for a single target, so it can also be useful. When you are facing an AoE situation like that, it's also possible to opt out for something else, and that would be the Mako, the Metachus stuff, and the Integrator or the Asterius glove. The advantage here is the stuff will, when you right click, deal a jumping amount that jumps between enemies, but its damage isn't as high. The next thing is for the Integrator, it will lay down mines that you can either explode by yourself or just let them time explode. The damage is relatively high and it will deal a big amount of AoE damage. And if you have the Asterius glove, it will allow you to put a big area cone in front of you that deals damage, and also gives you a special effect when you are farming something, since when the debuffs are still on the target, when it dies, it has a chance to drop marks and knowledge of enemies. So that's basically what I would suggest for a solo run. I hope I could help you here out, and see you on the next video.